Hi plant queens, welcome back to my channel. I'm Saab, and today I will be showing you around 5 plants, but maybe a few more, that do really well in pond or that thrive in pond. So originally I thought I was going to make this video a little bit of a mix between plants that do well in pond and plants that don't. But I was thinking about it, and there was only really one plant for me that didn't do as well in pond as all of my other plants that I've converted into pond. I'm saying pond a lot. And that's the syngonium. Syngoniums in general, I find that they grew faster for me in leca or just in plain water, to be honest, compared to pond. And yeah, that's the only one I could think of. Everything else that I've tried to convert have just done really well. And I'm going to show you some of my plants that have really taken off since I've placed them in pond. But before that, if you don't know what pond is, I have a lot of videos up on my channel about the substrate. I'm a really big fan of it just because I find that some plants do really well in it compared to leca or even to soil. So this first one is one of my favorites, but I'm probably gonna be saying that about every single plant here. But I've had this plant for quite a while, and it started as a single tiny leaf. It was just a cutting that I had gotten from a trade, and now it has grown into a beautiful full plant. So this is a philodendron Florida Ghost. I will just bring her up to the camera. I'm trying to fit it in the frame, but there. If you are into your philodendrons, I'm sure you're familiar with this plant. It's quite a popular plant among houseplant lovers, and it's called the Florida Ghost. The ghosty part is that new leaves come out like this creamy white color, and this isn't actually a brilliant white anymore. This is starting to fade down to green. I don't know if you can see that, but it's starting to get kind of that minty aspect, which doesn't exist, by the way. There's no such thing as a Florida Ghost mint, at least from what I've seen online, and Kaylee Ellen has a very good explanation of that if you want to go check her channel out. The mintiness or the color of the new leaves will really depend on how much light you're giving it. So for this one, for example, I do give it a lot of bright direct light under my grow lights, and that has been effective enough for the leaves to come out very white. I should have a photo somewhere of it coming out, this specific leaf, where it's very obviously white, and it hasn't quite faded down to this color yet. So as it progresses, it turns to this color, and then I actually really love this stage, like after it's faded a bit to the green, and you can kind of see the little streaks of white on it still. But you can see this is the leaf I started with, down there. And I was growing this in leca for a while, and it wasn't really doing anything, although it was growing and it had good roots. But it really took off in pond. And for all of my other philodendrons, by the way, it's the same. For this list, I chose plants from different genera. I think that's how you say the plural of genus. And I'm just picking a plant that I want to show you that's particularly healthy and happy. But mostly philodendrons for me do really well in pond. I can't think of any exceptions at the moment. Okay, so next I want to talk about this little gal. So this plant I have shown on my channel before, and I'm going to show her again because she's just taken off since then. I got this from a swap, and it started off as a very small plant. And it's interesting because for a lot of people on YouTube, for example, that have talked about this plant, the complaint is always that it's a slow grower. And that's why I think that pond has really contributed to how fast this has grown for me, and I think you'll be surprised if you're familiar with the plant, and you'll see what I mean. This is a DISCHIDIA or DISCHIDIA OVATA, or the watermelon DISCHIDIA, and you can see how many growth points there are up there, and just take a moment to see how lush that is. Wow, that's so long now. I think when I showed this just a few months ago, it was maybe up to here, and now this is all new growth. Like, let me look for a vine. This entire vine is new growth right there. So it's been really happy in pon, and it receives an okay amount of light, but it's not like this receives any direct light or anything like that, because you can see it's not sun stressed at all. So it's just in average conditions, and it's even in front of the air conditioning unit. So at night it's really cold and the humidity drops a lot, and it's still so happy. And really, it's one of my favorite plants just because of how beautiful it is. It looks like a curtain. I mentioned on Instagram recently that if I had a house with a bare wall, I would just want this plant on it, just trailing down an entire wall. That would be so amazing. But yes, for this one, this is a close relative of hoyas, so it's kind of the same care. You want to kind of like curve the leaves, like curve them up like that. Nick Pileggi on his channel calls it the taco test. And what you do is, if you can bend it, then that means that you can water it. So for this one, for example, can you see that? Yeah, that one I cannot like bend the leaves, it's stiff, so that means it's still happy and it doesn't need water yet. Which I forgot to mention, by the way, in terms of watering, I water my plants in pon. I don't really use a reservoir, and that's just because I find that plants enjoy having a dry period, especially for more succulent plants like DISCHIDIAs and HOYAs. So yeah, that's just personal preference. You can definitely use it with a reservoir, but I wouldn't know if it would have the same effect as what I'm doing, which is just watering them like they were in soil. So I just wait for the leaves to look like and feel like they need water for all of these plants, and that's when I water them. And again, that is my DISCHIDIA ovata. She's so gorgeous. So just dropping by quickly because after recording the video yesterday, I completely forgot to include the plant that actually inspired this list, which is this anthurium crystallinum. And this is the newest leaf here, which is what I want to talk to you about. So this was in LECA for the longest time, and I've mentioned in my videos before that anthuriums tend to do a lot better in pon compared to LECA. You can see that from the oldest leaf here, how battered it is. I've cut it off several times because it just kept yellowing and the edges kept crisping up. And this other leaf is also the same. It's going down that same route. And this was the leaf it came out with before I decided to transfer it to pon, because you can see these marks here. I immediately checked the roots when that happened, and I saw root rot developing in LECA. When I finally transferred it to pon, as you can see here, it gave me this beautiful perfect leaf, which is the first perfect leaf I've ever gotten out of it. Like, look at that. That is just a stunning crystalline leaf. Up here is just where it bumped into this shelf. It's just my negligence from kind of bumping it into here. But otherwise, it's just absolutely beautiful. And I was actually about to sell this plant or give it away, but now that it's in pon and it's doing much better, I am more than happy to keep it and in the background of my videos too. Okay, I think the next one I have to pick up. Give me a second. This is so heavy because I just watered it, but I will do it for you guys. So the next plant is actually in my terrarium, so a lot of you probably already know what that is. I'll just lift it up because it's just really heavy. I know it's small, but I just watered it so it's heavy. So my next plant is actually the begonia BIPPINATIFIDA. Can you guys see me? This one, the one on the side. There you go. The begonia BIPPINATIFIDA, which is one of my favorite begonias. Please focus. There. And it's been in this terrarium setting for a while. I say the begonia BIPPINATIFIDA, but again, all of the begonias are doing very well in pon. I will show you. That is a begonia chloristicta. I'll take some B-roll and insert it here for you. And over on the other side is a Begonia amphioxus. And down there is a saxifraga. It's the strawberry begonia. It's not actually a begonia. And then there's a little baby Begonia masoniana at the very corner. So for this terrarium, my substrate is actually a mix of pon and sphagnum moss, just so that it stays moist, a little more moist compared to just using pon. And these begonias absolutely love the high humidity and have just been growing really well. They started out very small and there was a lot of space in the terrarium, but as you can see now, it's pretty much filled up the entire thing, and I'm always having to chop this down and take cuttings from them because there's no more space. But I absolutely love it. The BIPPINATIFIDA in particular, none of these I would say are ridiculously easy begonias, but because of how I'm keeping them, it's really easy to just water it maybe once every 2 weeks, I would say, since it holds moisture really well. This is usually covered, by the way. I just removed the cover for this video. And yeah, it's super simple. Every time I water it, I make sure to give it nutrients. And I try to take cuttings. I try to trim them as much as possible because it does promote bushier growth, which is why they look so lush and full and beautiful in this terrarium. But yes, I am just showing you about the BIPPINATIFIDA as an example today. But I will say that all of these begonias are really thriving and super easy to care for in pon. Alright, so this is the second to the last plant. And this genus is actually, I think, probably the first that I started to transfer into pon, and the reason that I wanted to try out pon, and that is this Hoya VILLOSA. Oop, it's dripping water everywhere because I just watered it. But here she is. This is a VILLOSA. I'm not really sure if it's a VILLOSA cow dang or if it's just a regular one. If anyone knows, please let me know in the comments. But this is not the first one I transferred in pon. I just mean that Hoyas in general were what encouraged me to try pon, because they do way better in pon compared to leca and even to soil, I would say, because I was taking care of them in soil for a while. Eventually, after having Hoyas in leca for about a year, I realized that they were very prone to root rot, and also they would become very stagnant and just not grow for a very long time, which I know is a common characteristic of a lot of Hoyas. They like to just sit there and be pretty and do nothing. But in pon, they do tend to do that less, I noticed. So you can see there's that new leaf there. And this is a very pretty plant, by the way. I'm not sure if it'll come off on camera, but it's super fuzzy. And just look at the texture on that. It's still dripping water everywhere. The texture is super fun, and under the leaves, it's really fuzzy as well. Like if you touch the undersides, it's really hairy, which is, I really like that. I don't know if you guys like fuzzy plants, but I do, especially Hoyas. I should do a fuzzy Hoyas video. But yes, what was I saying? I was showing you that this is new growth, the kind of lighter green one there. And then up here is another vine. So I've noticed that for all my Hoyas in pon, they do grow a lot faster than when they were in leca. So yeah, I know I'm not just imagining it. And Hoyas, in general, I do tend to give them higher light, just because I find that they enjoy that. Although some of them, I notice, like the darker foliage Hoyas, can tolerate medium light or just bright indirect light. But I keep my Hoyas very close to grow lights, just because I want to get more growth out of them, and because I do love them, so I give them priority. And similar to the DISCHIDIA, I know it's time to water when I try to bend these leaves. You'll see that it's not really giving, or there's no give there, so I know that it's not yet time to water. But when it does, then I know that I can give it nutrients and give it a good drink. So again, that is my Hoya VILLOSA, just living her best life. I'm trying to hide her from the frame right now, but she's super big compared to before, so I don't know if you guys can see that. So this last plant, I've got a story about this one, and I think this is the best example of a plant that really does way better in pond than other substrates in my experience. And I absolutely love this plant, but I've had such a hard time with it. And if you watch other plant YouTubers, then you'll know that they've had similar struggles. And every time I do see them post those videos, I always try to message them and say, hey, maybe you should try converting it to pond, because that's what has really worked for me. And that plant is my beautiful MONSTERA Thai constellation, which is also dripping water everywhere. I'm trying to get her in frame. Let me just back up. There. Oh, can you see that? Okay. So this is the newest leaf right here that just unfurled maybe 2 days ago or maybe yesterday. There. Isn't that stunning? This particular Thai constellation really likes to give sectoral variegation. You can see it in her older leaves as well, like here and a little bit here, and also in her younger, more juvenile leaves. So I want to talk a little bit about the journey we've gone through this Thai constellation. I got this plant in soil and I transferred it into leca, and it was doing okay for the longest time until it got root rot. And I'm not really sure why it got root rot. I think it might have been because I didn't change the water in the reservoir for a little bit too long. I think it might have been sitting in the same water for 3 weeks and it didn't like that. But also I think it's just really prone to rot in leca for some reason. If you have the same experience with your Thai constellation, if it's rotting in soil or in leca, do let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's just something that I've found. And even with my MONSTERA adansonii, I did experience rot in leca. And now it's just growing in water and it likes that way better for some reason. So I almost lost all of the roots on this one. I was so devastated. I didn't even take any photos because I grew this from a single leaf. So I'm really attached to this plant and I thought it was gonna die. And I just put it in pond and now here we are. It recovered so beautifully in pond. It grew new roots so quickly. And I would say that it's growing much faster now that it's in pond. And I wanted to show you something pretty funny about this plant. Can you see, where is it here? Can you see that? It's trying to escape the pot. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but there's a little root that's trying to get out of the pot. And I keep inserting it back into the substrate, but it keeps climbing out. This was really root bound already. It was in a 4-inch pot. And I had to move it up to this 6-inch one or 8-inch, I don't know, a much bigger pot because it grows roots like crazy in pond and it really loves it. As you can see from all of the new leaves, they're getting more and more fenestrations. I really hope the next one has a hole or two. I will definitely show you guys if it does. So yeah, this is definitely one of the success stories that I'm really happy about. And I will never move this plant to another substrate. Well, never say never, but I'm just saying it seems to really enjoy pond. Compared to soil and compared to leca, this is the happiest it's been. So I think that is all of the plants that I have for you today. I know I said I would release a philodendron collection video, but things again were super hectic this week. I'll try my best to get it up for you next week. But in the meantime, let me know if you have any questions about pond. I'm not an expert, but I do have some experience in terms of just taking care of my own houseplants. Or suggest down below what kind of videos you want to see. Do you want to see like a pond maintenance video? Comment down below and I'd be happy to chat with you. Thank you again for watching and follow me on Instagram if you're not already. I'm at Marble Queen. You can DM me anytime with your questions. I'd be happy to chat with you there as well. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!